Scott Bessent at a New York Times event, himself and Alex Karp from Palantir and Halle Berry. But let's first start off with Scott Bessent. Scott Bessent is being interviewed, and they're talking about a bunch of different things. And then all of a sudden, he blasts New York Times at their own event over the coverage of Trump's health. Go ahead, Rob.
You had what was one of the greatest scandals of all time, that the coverage of the Biden administration, Joe Biden's diminished capacity, and the cover-up.
And that's why it's probably fair to raise these questions.
Where was the New York Times? We just had a 3-hour cabinet meeting yesterday, Andrew. For 10 months, the Biden administration did not have a cabinet meeting. How are you going to invoke the 25th Amendment if the cabinet secretaries never see the president, which they didn't?
10 months.
And by the way, Rob, that's not even the best clip. The clip is when he talks about, I mean, you can find another clip that he calls him out, because there's a couple clips with him and New York Times. He just goes, boom, left, right.
And that's a fact back 10 months.
10 months.
They
no
didn't have a
cabinet.
freaking cabinet meeting?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And to the point that even he doesn't have anything to say. Tom, what was your reaction when you first saw this here with Bessent? Is this the one, Rob, that's a longer version of it?
That's a little bit of a shorter one. Hang on.
Okay, you keep looking at it. I think there's one other clip
This is
there.
134.
Okay, let's just see this one here.
Is this a new normal?
Andrew, there's no new normal. And I can tell you that I actually don't read the New York Times anymore. But sometimes I do watch CNBC. But occasionally people send me articles, and there's just this fever swamp. And you're now a pop historian with 1929.
There you go.
And in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the New York Times is no longer the paper of record. You can't go. I read this article. President Trump is slowing down. President Trump's mental capacity. It is 100% fake. That he only called me twice at 2 a.m. last week instead of 3 times.
You're saying he called you? I believe that he called you at 2 or 3 in the morning.
That whole narrative. You had what was one of the greatest.
So we watched this here. Tom, go ahead.
Well, what I think it just shows how prepared and the leadership
Just
of
a big
Scott
fan of
Bessent.
Scott Bessent.
I am a big fan of Scott Bessent. I love his leadership. I love the policy
right hook.
positions he's taken very much. And what he does here is DealBook is part of the LA Times, New York Times. I got to get my liberal fish wrap straight. So he does this, and he tries to put these things out there, and he's just leading with his chin, unfortunately. Andrew Ross Sorkin, in the mornings on CNBC, he's kind of the liberal voice that's there, and he gets pushed a lot on there, but he's a knowledgeable guy and everything. And then here he goes trying to put these common things up there in kind of not really a debate format, but in kind of a counter format. And Scott Bessent just says, you're going to throw an 80-mile-an-hour fastball at me. There's a word for 85-mile-an-hour fastballs, souvenirs, because he's going to hit that, and that's exactly what Scott Bessent did. He hit it, and I very much liked it, and it was a big day for people taking a stand and making statements that were a little embarrassing. This was supposed to be a business conference talking about how politics and Treasury policy, rates and everything meet business, and he had a lot of people on stage there, and it turned out that, Andrew Ross Sorkin got slapped a couple times.
And by the way, I'm a fan of him.
I like him in the morning.
I think he's good at what he does, and I applaud New York Times for inviting the people that they did. They invited Erica Kirk. They invited Scott Bessent. So good for them for doing that, but you got your ass handed to you by Scott Bessent. This year, for Merry Christmas, the hat we announced last year sold 3,000 like this within a couple days. This year, we're doing a limited edition one for today, Rob, if you want to show this up there. This is the limited edition Merry Christmas hat, numbered out of 250. On the side, it says Future Looks Bright. These will go in no time, by the way. If you're somebody that's proud to say Merry Christmas comfortably, place an order. Get this for somebody that's also proud to say Merry Christmas. This could make for a very, very good Christmas gift. And anybody that places an order, I believe this is for the first 100, if I'm not mistaken, Rob. Anybody that places an order gets a mug that says Future Looks Bright and Merry Christmas. And on this side, you get an ornament as well that says Merry Christmas. The Future Looks Bright edition sent your way. So go to vtmerch.com, place an order, Merry Christmas hat coming your way. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast,
click here.